Welcome to Power Lunch Live. I'm Rhett Power, your host. We do the program every Tuesday through Friday around 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. And the point of the show is to have today's thought leaders, best-selling authors, people who are doing amazing work in the world that we can learn from, people that we can actually get better, help us get better at what we do. And so that's the whole point of the show. What's fun about that to me is that it can be interactive. And the way that happens is if you get online and you ask your questions, we're broadcasting on LinkedIn, we're broadcasting on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. So on any of those platforms, we monitor those during the program. You can ask your questions so that we can get to your answers, and hopefully we have answers for you. Now, give the program a like or share if you do like the program. We'd appreciate that. And the nice thing about that is your network can benefit from those conversations as well. So if you share it with your network, they get the benefit. Now, it's a real pleasure for me today to have a friend and a colleague, Himanshu Saxena. Himanshu is founder and CEO of the Center of Strategic Mindset, a thought leadership and consulting organization focused on advising boards on strategy, people, and risk. He is a C-suite executive coach who works with promoters, boards, CXOs, and top leaders in the disciplines of managing strategy, driving execution, and implementing a balanced scorecard and developing top leaders. He's a regular speaker at GE-Tuck's Leadership Roundtable and the Bloomberg and GE Learning Summit. He writes and teaches at top business schools in the U.S. and around the world. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, Ed. What a delight to be with you in this wonderful conversation.
Well, likewise, and I've been looking forward to it all week. Wow, we are in some interesting times, to say the least.
Unimagined. A couple of months back when we met in San Diego, this is the least we would have expected. What a wonderful evening we had at the Bayside.
I know, it was a great group of people, a lovely place and view, and you led a great group session that I think I'll always remember. That was fantastic. And it was just spontaneous too, which was really nice. One of the things that really strikes me about you is your sense of calm, and I want to know, because you've been through a lot. I mean, you were in the military. You served in some war zones and some conflict zones. You've experienced combat. You've also you were telling a story the other day on one of our morning calls about isolation, and I wish we could share screens on this, because you pulled up a graphic of the camp that you were in. Was it for 40 days, or was how long were you in that? 6 months. That's right, 6 months.
Yeah.
One of the most remote parts of the world. So how was that experience in the military and your experience in combat and in those places in the world? How has that shaped who you are today?
Coming back to your question about being calm, I'm the youngest child of my family, and my siblings were quite elder to me. So by the time I came, they had grown up and they'd moved out. So I had to live in a place with a house, and behind there was a river. So I didn't have too many people to play. So I spent a lot of time with nature, appreciating nature, seeing the river bank, and just enjoying the bliss of the quietude. I think that's where the journey of being calm began. Reading was another arena which I always found myself immersing in books, and that gave me a lot of internal reflections to stay calm. Military, of course, played a very significant role, especially the combat situations and zones, because when you are calm internally, you can weed out the clutter and you can make far robust choices. So I often say, don't let the noise around drown your inner voice. And you find that inner voice in calm, the quietude of life. It also plays a very significant role in the decision making. So a lot of parental influence, a lot of childhood experiences, military A lot of tough life I had while growing up. And like I often say that before I got my first job, I got 23 rejections. I didn't make it. So each rejection, and my mom would always say, like a good lady, God bless her soul, but don't worry, there is something good waiting for you.
Hmm.
So I would wonder that how this lady can keep me calm. So that was another influence. These are some of the examples or reflections I can recall in answering that what contributed to staying calm. A lot of people do say that in your company there's a rub off effect of the calmness.
Yeah. What is calm something you can learn? Because I don't think everybody has had the same experiences you've had, and the maybe the self awareness to work on their sort of inner dialogue and their inner calm. Are there things that you think we can do as leaders to? I mean, right now we're stressed out. I was just talking to Dr. Sharon Melnick yesterday,
Hmm.
and and Sharon, and we were talking about just the amount of stress. I mean, she was looking at some recent statistics, and the stress levels of people is really high right now, and it's going to be even higher particularly when we go back to work here in the United States, and because I think we're doing it prematurely. Um, and is there a way to sort of calm that? Do you have any techniques or anything that you think that might help people um, sort of get control of those emotions?
Well, I always believe that whichever competency you want to grow, there's always a component of nature versus nurture. The ratio and percentage may vary, but I think together makes a complete man or a woman. Now, coming back to your question, is it learnable? I think surely some extent this can be learnable. One of the techniques is journaling. If people can cultivate the habit of having a dialogue with themselves and get into the process of writing,
Hmm.
writing makes us calm. It takes away a lot of noise from our mental chatter. So one of the things definitely can make improvement in being calm. The second is mindful walks. Now, walking is such a liberating exercise. In my society, when in the good days when COVID was not there, I would see two kind of people. One who were just walking by themselves. Second, who's always on a call, and nothing against that. They just want to optimize their time. But to my mind, that's a great opportunity lost. A mindful walk goes a long way in making ourselves calm. The two learnable techniques, the habit of journaling, having a dialogue with self, and the second is mindful walks, apart from number of meditative things which are available.
I had a coaching client. I'm glad you said walks because I had a coaching client, and hadn't thought about that until you just said it. But he said he goes for a walk every day at lunch, and he uses it as a way to reset because of the noise of the morning and the noise of the start of the day. That he has to have his walk in the middle of the day to sort of calm, reflect, slow down, take a minute, so that the rest of the day he can. And I thought that, yeah, what you just said is really powerful.
Yeah.
Um, were
In
you, go,
1993, I had the wonderful opportunity to meet Dalai Lama. So I was a young captain in the eastern part of India, and I was told that he would be driving, and my job was to offer a cup of tea to him. So I was well prepared. Of course, those days I didn't have any thoughts about meditation or the life of a Lama, but I was looking forward to a brief conversation. I always learned that when you are meeting someone, keep at least one question ready. So I kept one question ready and I said, uh, Fizoli, what really meditation is? I always love to ask short questions. So he looked at me for a while. He said, "See, meditation is something in which you lose the sense of who you are, where you are, and you're so immersed that you are in a blissful state. Now, you could get that while writing, while walking, while reading, while listening to music, playing guitar. So it need not be an exercise where you're sitting in lotus position with hands folded and only then you can do meditation. It's
Mm-hmm.
a choice that you cut off and you go inside and be in a blissful situation." So that was a very profound reflection. I was lucky to have that conversation.
Absolutely. That's a great answer because I like that part about losing yourself and your sense of time and your sense of place really, and being so immersed in that experience, whatever it is, right? That everything else is just outside of that. And I get that completely.
And there is a price to be paid because sometimes when I'm in that zone, my wife would have said something and I would have missed. And she said, "Where are you? Where are you lost? You can't pay attention to what I'm saying."
I know that feeling. Um, do you think your previous experience, we take everything with us, obviously, on our journey through life, and it informs and shapes us. How do you think that previous experience, particularly in the military and some of the experiences you had there, how does that shape you as a coach?
Yeah. I think I remember a situation where I was to lead troops in combat. And some of my seniors said, "Oh, there is a way you can lead the soldiers in which abuses are part of the language." And I felt it's not necessary. You don't have to do that. Now, military was one of my six careers. I was a geologist, worked in UN, worked in consulting corporations. But what taught me the spirit of a good dialogue to inspire people to greatness is if you tell people, it's difficult to get the buy-in. But if you ask them, it's far easy to get their buy-in. Very early, I learned those things, but I was able to package that in last 7 8 years, which I say, convert all your tell statements into ask statements.
Mm.
And if you could do that, the amount of commitment and the buy-in that you get it is amazing. So in all my conversations, I try to convert all my tell statements into ask statements. And they invariably lead to coaching conversations, seizing a coaching moment, a shifting perspective of people. In the end, people go away with a feeling of, oh, it is they who have achieved an outcome and not I who triggered that. Isn't that empowering?
That's the whole point, I think, of a good coach, right? Or of coaching. That's the whole point of, and how it should be done. I think that's the whole. That's what we strive for. I think.
And people had different kinds of problems: family problems, combat problems, stress problems. The resolution lies in a great dialogue. See, conversations make the experience rich. I think listening is a very important part of that. People say that 90% of the problems get solved if they get a patient hearing. So why not do that?
What is that why you became a coach? Because you like the conversation and you like helping people discover the answers on their own, or what motivated you? How did that all kind of manifest itself into this career path? All those things that you did and have done, how did that end up for you being where you are now, you think?
So I always believe that whatever we are, a fair bit of that has been written on a neural path when we are kids, when we are young children. And I think when I was between 5 to 10 years of age, I think we discussed that in San Diego. I would
Yes.
always look for someone coming to my home for an opportunity to have a wonderful conversation. And I found those conversations, they were typically with my grandparent, and they led to a lot of curiosity. They were also the window to know the outside world.
Right.
So I found that there is tremendous power in conversation. The conversation is not speaking and taking too much airtime.
Right.
So definitely conversations played a significant role in helping people find resolution to the problems that they brought. And it also helped the shifting of perspective.
Yeah.
So as far the coaching is concerned, and I'm on a path, I'm on the journey that how to achieve more and more with less and less of speaking. They say in Zen stories and monks, somebody comes to them, ask a question or a long question, and monk says one word, and that seems to answer the question. So if I could achieve that in this lifetime, it would be a phenomenal pursuit.
It doesn't make good LinkedIn live shows, but yes.
Yes.
But
No,
I
I'll do
agree.
justice to the LinkedIn Live.
I agree with you, though. Right. I mean, I think I'm saying that to be funny, but it's true, right? I mean, if you can
Yeah,
get
but
to that level, yeah,
yeah, to answer your question, so I often say this line that two things can change the course of our life: the books that we read and the people that we meet. So in my lifetime, I met five, six people who kind of changed the life irreversibly. Getting into the military was also a chance meeting with two young captains in New Delhi staying in Olive Green, and I was fascinated. And I walked up to them and asked, "How do you get there?" And they said, "You can't get there. You are very small and you will not make it." And I said, "Okay, now I'm going to prove that." And later I learned that you don't need a body of a Goliath, you need the mind of a steel.
right.
Then in 2010, I met Marshall Goldsmith in Tuck School of Business. So I had taken a team of top 10 leaders from my previous organization for a program on innovation. My job as a coach was to observe things, and I would hop into different classes. So one day I hopped out and hopped into a class next door with Marshall's picture, "What got you here will not take you there." So I sat down and I loved what he spoke. And I asked the guy, Clark Allen, who's also among the 100 coaches, that, "Clark, how can I spend time with him?" He said, "We have a cocktail in the evening. Why don't you join us?" And I sat with Marshall, and it was that conversation which kind of gave a formal fillip to the journey that I'm doing as a coach.
Okay. I understand that those conversations with Marshall tend to be life changing and altering. Um, I want to switch gears now a little bit and talk about leadership. Uh, do you think that leadership is going? I mean, it always evolves, but do you think that the coronavirus and the way that the world is changing now because of it, or has changed, um, is it going to change leadership in any way? You think any new skills that we need to have now, or more skills that are more important?
So I won't say that there'll be a drastic change. So there is a timeless component of leadership and there is a timely component of leadership. So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to timeless component, being authentic will always be needed. The ability to create vision is definitely needed.
Right.
Uh, how do you create strategy? How do you communicate? How do you walk the talk? I don't think these things will change.
Okay.
Probably your means methodology to reach out, to engage people in a more digital world is what leaders will have to adapt to.
Okay.
I always say, in this world of social distancing, how do you build digital affection is a core skill.
That's a great. I mean, how do you do that? Because I think that's sort of that's sort of the genesis of the question. Because I think that seems like a hard thing to do. And in some ways, I mean, I'm in your house now, right? And we're in each other's homes now, and people see each other in different contexts. But that doesn't mean that we get to know that you get to know me, and that there's a um, just because we're in a different place. I don't know that makes it any easier. Maybe it makes it harder. I don't know.
Well, this is the new normal. This is the way connections will happen. Now, you know what happens that when we meet face to face or physically, we may have an instant chemistry,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
or maybe we may not have an instant chemistry because of our biases, unconditional biases.
Right.
What digital medium gives us a second chance or even little more time to build that chemistry. So in a way,
Right.
it's good. You take your time. The instant chemistry may not happen, but a series of meetings can actually help two people get close to each other. And if that was not the case, Tinder would have gone out of the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very much possible with authentic conversations over a medium which is almost real time or getting better.
I wonder if it gives us. It certainly makes it easier to have relationships with people. I mean, let's say you are managing remote teams anyway, and they're not all in the same place. It does give you a way to do that, I guess, with technology that even 5 years ago wouldn't have been as easy to do. So I kind of I get that to an extent. I get that it gives you that chance to build a deeper relationship. I know that just in our context, I mean, we have these morning calls with Marshall and our group, and I feel like one of the benefits of those, particularly the last month and a half, 2 months, is that I think I've gotten to know more of you in our fellowship than I would
Absolutely.
have. I mean, absolutely. And being on the phone every day with people, you start hearing them talk about things, and you start understanding them a little bit better. And I've had multiple private conversations with people as a result of that, and I think that's been a real positive. So maybe you're right. Maybe that's not such a bad thing.
See, all it takes an effort, intensity, and empathy. And we can demonstrate that over a digital medium. Like how many times when you speak to someone on a phone call, you make out that person is not there with you. He's distracted.
Mm-hmm. Very
On the
well.
contrary, if a person is there with his all the faculty, you feel connected.
Right.
It's very possible.
Right. And this actually forces us, this kind of video, it does actually force us to be a little more tuned in, right? I mean,
Yeah.
how many times? I mean, I remember the days of conference calls, right? And you'd put it on mute, and you could you could multitask, and you could just listen, and you didn't have to be. It wasn't. It didn't require you to be completely focused. I think now this kind of technology, it's hard not to stay focused and in on the conversation because it's visual, right?
Yeah. In my life as a career, I've gone through this curve where I would do one task at a time, then graduate to multitasking, and realizing the utility or the futility of multitasking, and coming back to being one thing at a time. And that's far more productive, right?
Oh, it is indeed. I don't know the science of it. I've read, but I know my brain doesn't work when I'm doing. I don't work very well when I'm trying to do 50 different things. I don't do any of it well. How do you? Going back to another coaching question that I've gotten recently, and that's come up in a lot of conversations, and that's the sense of control. Because I think one of the things that people are struggling with right now is to feel like they can have influence over something, right? Can they get some control back of their life or their work or their business when everything else seems to just be chaotic? Is that possible? And is it something we should let go? I mean, what's your take on how we feel about control and being in control, and is that healthy or productive? Or
Yeah, very good question, right? So on one side you have something called flow, another side you have something called control. If you just weigh the two words, flow looks like effortless, and in control you find a sense of stress. I often put myself this question and evaluate my choices: accept what you can't and change what you can, or control what you can. So control is only directional. You want to channelize, do that, because you want, the Sun Tzu art of war, the concentration of forces at one point of time. If that is a control, which is fine, because you want to achieve maximum impact with minimum force.
right.
But if you're trying to control too many things, the truth is nothing is in your control.
Right.
Everything in this interconnected world is interdependent.
Yes.
So even the thought of control is futile. Bliss and flow is far better than control.
That makes a lot of sense. How do you? Is there a way to, I guess, change our attitude about that, or I don't know if it's a belief system or just who we are in our DNA, but um, how do you get comfortable with just being in flow? I mean, that requires us to let go of things that we tend to, some of, I guess, probably habits that we develop early in our lives, right? How do you let go and be more in flow?
If I have to do this with a person, let's say if he's a coachee and I'm in a situation, how would I guide him to do that? Maybe
Mm,
I'll make him travel back in his life to identify about 7, 8 situations, enable him to examine what control did he have, how it played out, what could he learn from that experience. Kind of a mapping of various
right.
experiences, and then make him realize, was it control or was it just channelization or channelizing.
Hmm.
If a person can see those situations and choices, I think he will develop a deeper understanding of life or the forces of nature. Then he can get curious. Okay, now I understand, teach me how to do that. I think then we can get onto the skills, a couple of skills that can help.
And that, in essence, brings back to the first question about calm, right? That
Yeah.
probably reduces the stressors, and if you can get to the point where you're comfortable with the flow, then it really does take that anxiety and that other stress out, and that the anxiousness and the yeah, that I can totally see how that's all connected to your decision making and to having just a sense of calm.
Yeah. Earlier, you asked a question on decision making, or you mentioned something on decision making. So, in various situations and various kinds of decisions that I have taken, there are three things are extremely important. So every decision has a stake. There are some stakeholders. Every decision has some implications, and every decision has an impact in the form of a consequence and outcome. So stakes, implications, and impact. So I was giving this example in the afternoon in the panel discussion. So there's a Obama's decision of eliminating Osama bin Laden. There were stakes, there were implications. So stakes for Congress, Senate, American people, the world at large.
Mm-hmm.
Implications, what if it goes wrong? What if we don't get him? Impact, what if we get him? So when he was debating these choices, Leon Panetta was a CIA chief who said, oh, we have a 50-50% intelligence, 50% likelihood. 50% on a high value target is very good. So he visualized that impact is positive and it's worth taking. So he let go the stakes, let go the implications, and went ahead with that. The other example which I was talking about, the two democracies, the biggest democracy or the largest democracy. So in the biggest democracy, the leader probably paid more attention to implications and stakes and less to the impact, and numbers are there to be seen with an impact. In another democracy, the leader thought, let me think about the impact and I'll take care of the implications. The numbers are different. I'm not saying which is right and wrong, but comparable, they give you a perspective how you can play around with these three variables: stakes, implications, and impact.
Right. No, that makes sense. How do you are there some daily habits that you have that can help people through their day be more mindful, uh, be more self-aware, uh, and ultimately help them be a better version of themselves? Are there some daily habits that you have that maybe can help people?
Sure. So I call them three things: routine, rituals, and rhythm. And routine plus rituals make a great rhythm of life. Which are the routines? I get up around 5:15 or 5 every day, sleeping at same time, waking up at almost same time. As a conscious thing, I don't look at my phone when I wake up, because if you watch the WhatsApp, it can take 15 minutes away from your precious life. I go to kitchen, make 2 glasses of warm water, drink every day for me and my wife. I have a habit of reading in toilet, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Normal good old days, I'll definitely do a walk. If not, I have my own schedule of exercise where I primarily use my body weight. The military taught me you can do push-up, um, you can do chin-ups. As a teenager, I had some fascination for kung fu. I learned a bit of that. So one of the exercise which taught is every day take out 100 punches in the air, the kung
Mm-hmm.
fu punches, and I do that by listening to the song Kung Fu Fighting. So I
I
have a
like that.
song, yeah. And then I get ready, and depending upon my day, I like to write and 2 pages of reading. So I wrote an article in LinkedIn, let reading redefine your life. A lot of people say, oh, we don't get time. All I ask them is just read 2 pages, read from different books. You don't have to ever finish a book.
Right.
You get just one idea, that's good enough. I'm a light eater. I don't spend much time on TV and I sleep early. So this is in general the routine or the rituals that create the rhythm. There's a book written by a Navy SEAL guy, I'm forgetting the name, Discipline Equals Freedom.
Okay.
And that's a very powerful book. A lot of people may find this perspective or say, oh, this is extremely regimented. But trust me, it is this discipline that gives me the freedom to choose and do many things.
Yeah, I completely get that. A lot of the more successful people that I've interviewed and that I've spent time with and that I've worked with, they have a discipline or a system of discipline that really helps them stay focused, stay on track, stay healthy. That is, I think, remarkable, and I think that's to me, that's a common trait with successful people. That there's usually a system of discipline that they follow that really helps them and helps guide them and keep them sort of.
And I encourage people to have some funny goals. So one of the funny goals, we usually used to have one holiday on beach, me and my
Mhm.
wife, and I would always love to have one picture clicked like a Daniel Craig walking out of the beach and say, okay, guys, why don't you have this goal that when you go for a beach holiday, you would like to look something like this? And typically 3 months before we would begin that preparation. So having such goals get you a little bit of kick, which is also necessary to build a regime.
Mhm. Well, this has been fun and enlightening, and thank you so much for staying up late. I know it's late, and right where you are now in India, and so thank you so much for your time, and I look forward to getting another time in San Diego or wherever we can do that next time. That was I still like the face-to-face time. I still think that's a really valuable thing. I'm an extrovert and I like people, so that's important. But thank you so much.
Thank you. And we will get back to that phase, Rhett, positively.
Oh yeah, I'm not worried about that. But these are fun, and it's been great to talk to you, and thank you for your insight. I'd love to have you back on the show again and share other things that I think are important that you can really help us all with. So have a great evening, and thank
Thank
you.
you.
And thank you. And thank you for spending some time with us today here on the Power Lunch. You can check out our schedule on powerlunch.live. We have a great upcoming schedule in the next few weeks. And so please check out the website and have a great day. Enjoy the people that you're spending time with. Love them and enjoy this time. It's a great time to bond and to share time with one another, which is important. So have a great day. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on tomorrow.
Thank you, Rhett. Wish you Godspeed and good luck.
Thank you, Himanshu.